This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for Take Two with Betsy Broadman.
Now, I've been gone a while and I'm really glad to be back. And I know that I say this every time, but this is a very special guest, a more special guest. I've got John Hill here. Hi, John. John, can you hear me? No, you can't.
Mute. Now, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. So, I asked John to do this because of a variety of reasons. And I just want to have this be kind of a free-flowing conversation hitting a few points. First, John, how did we meet?
How did you and I meet?
Yeah.
Well, we met because we were both involved with the No Nukes project in 1979. And but I don't think we really got to talk much then. It was just, there were so many people.
Right. So
many people.
Can I interrupt? How did No Nukes, how did that genesis start? And then how did it come to fruition?
There were a lot of events preceding 3 Mile Island, the accident, the partial meltdown at 3 Mile in Pennsylvania, that were happening anyway. And for me, it began with my next door neighbor coming over to the house one day with a stack of papers. And this is in Saugerties, New York, just east of Woodstock.
Right.
And he handed me this sheet of papers and he said, this is about the nuclear plant that's on the drawing board to go in 6 miles north of here on the Hudson River in a place called Cementon. And I said, no, I don't know about it. And he said, well, just read it. And he was a Vietnam vet who got his calves blown away in the war. And they told me never walk again, but he was building houses and chopping wood for a living. So I took him seriously whenever he said, read this. So, and I started going to hearings and learned that it was bureaucracy run amok. It spent hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer and ratepayer money without getting a single permit yet. And that's just, the way things were back then and somewhat still are. But I started with that, and then I joined this group called Mid-Hudson Nuclear Opponents. And one of the first times that I crossed paths with Pete Seeger a few times. Right. One of them was in these anti-nuclear events that we were having from Mid-Hudson Nuclear Opponents. And I wound up, I'll try to go in chronological order, but I wound up doing playing a rally at the Seabrook, New Hampshire site of the Seabrook reactors when they were being built. So it was chain link fence, 25,000 protesters from the Clamshell Alliance, and me and Pete and Jackson Brown. And that's where the song Power was debuted. I'd written the chorus to that in the middle of the night after coming back from a hearing of the Federal Nuclear Regulatory Commission and the New York State Power Authority. And that was when I realized they were going ahead full blast to build this thing, regardless of what anybody said in the public comment sessions. And I couldn't sleep. And my first wife, co-writer, and I she was asleep and her daughter was asleep in her room. And I was lying awake going, what are we going to do? And I went downstairs and sang into a little cassette recorder the chorus of Power, the song Power, and then I could sleep. So I started getting more into the idea of activism. Activism makes me be able to channel that anxiety and that fear and that anger
I think that's true for a lot of us.
It is. Yeah, and I think too often we don't get the outlet of actually doing the work, which makes you feel like, hey, at least I'm doing something.
Mhm. So how actually, I think when I'm
Well, so after that, there was there were events going on the West Coast and around the country, and different musicians were involved, and actors and writers, poets, what have you, and professional people who knew the science and just organizers,
Mhm.
a lot of volunteerism. Did a show at the Palladium in New York, a benefit for this Karen Silkwood Foundation, with Jackson and Bonnie Raitt and Jesse Colin Young and me, and I forget who else was there. But at the end of that, I think James Taylor was there. We
I was there. Yeah.
Yeah, we wound up in the dressing room after the show was sold out. Big success artistically, as well as
You made a lot of money.
we raised a lot of money for Karen Silkwood Fund.
Yep.
And if you don't know who Karen is, go see the movie Silkwood, which is probably on Netflix or one of those platforms. So afterwards, we're sitting in the dressing room, and somebody said, "What now? What?" And I said, "Why don't we get everybody we know, call everybody we know, and go to the Madison Square Garden?" And it was kind of like, I know how we'll save the school. We'll put on a show. And it turned into not just one, but 5 nights and a rally at Battery Park, and so on. It grew, and a movie and a record. So.
The huge rally. Yeah. Right.
Right. So and then after that, it took off. There were more events that happened after that. Johanna and I thought that the 3 Mile Island meltdown would put the kibosh on our needing to do the MUSE concerts. It actually did put the kibosh on the planned nuclear plant near our house, because it was the same exact reactor as melted down at 3 Mile Island.
Mhm.
So people weren't real happy with that. So that one came off the drawing board, but others, including Seabrook, unfortunately went ahead.
Right.
And were built and used, operated. But I'm proud of the fact that the song Power starts with "Just give me the warm power of the sun," and steady flow of the waterfall, restless power of the wind. Songs are really about safe energy. Musicians United for Safe Energy is the acronym MUSE came from. And it's was in 1979 as much about renewable energy as it is against nuclear energy. So anyway, that's the short version.
Thank you. So I'm going to go in 2 directions with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
I want to focus in on what it was like literally behind the scenes. And we can discuss a little bit about what happened those nights, but also
Sure.
Battery Park, because that I was volunteering along with, I can mention names right now because they're watching, but a number of my friends, and the police were just not prepared for this, and they underestimated it in the press, and then it just kept growing, and it was beautiful. I mean, the pictures of Bonnie and Jackson and Graham and you and Carly on there, and then everybody clapping at the end is just incredible. How did you organize how did the Battery Park?
Well, it wasn't me. I mean, we
organized, right?
I didn't organize everything. I was one of the instigators.
I'm sorry, you in the bigger sense. I'm sorry.
Right, us all.
Well, y'all.
Well, it took on a life of its own. We were working with people like Sam Lovejoy and Tom Campbell, and who have been working on many of these kinds of events, and other people from the different safe energy groups and educational groups, Native American tribe representatives who
Right.
have been having to live with the mill tailings from uranium that
Right.
were giving them cancer. People who came from communities that were being harmed And so they all kind of took the ball and ran with it as well. Everybody was coming up with ideas. I think that musicians by and large are dreamers. And when somebody said, hey, let's do a rally down there and get 1 million people or whatever it was to come, it wound up being 250,000. But, we all went, yeah, cool, let's do that. But a moment that I remember from the garden was backstage with Steven Tyler, who showed up one night. People kept showing up who were not advertised. Artists were not advertised. So we're back in the dressing room, somebody's dressing room backstage, and I'm trying to get trying to teach Steven the chorus to Power, so he could get up there and sing on it with us. And Carly and I were, teaching it to him, and I was playing guitar, and she was showing him the words in the page, and they were singing harmony. And I realized they have the same smile. They both have these big toothy smiles.
Right.
And I said,
Cheshire
we're going to
cat
get you guys
smile.
on the same microphone, so it looks like stereo mouths. And that was fun. There were lots of moments like that. But the one that personally meant the most to me was at the rally at Battery Park, when we had just finished doing Power with Jackson and Bonnie and Carly and Graham and my band backing everybody up.
Right.
And then the next act up after I stepped off the stage was Crosby, Stills and Nash singing Teach Your Children.
I know, I cried. It was beautiful.
I did too. I had my 6-week-old daughter Sophie on my chest in a snuggly, and I looked to the left, and there was Pete Seeger's Clearwater, the Hudson River sloop Clearwater, with all the sails out. It's a beautiful sunny day, and it had a big flag from the topmast flying back over the sails. It had a sun insignia on it, and it was just. And I looked out and saw 250,000 people clapping.
It was a moment. I know.
It was a moment.
Yeah.
And that was my moment. I was busy a lot of the time, but that was the moment where I went, holy cow. And also my personal as a dad,
Could you
experience that with my baby.
And play that song, please?
Oh yeah, sure.
That'd be great. I don't know if you're tuned up for it, but that would be really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, this was when he had his debut at Seabrook with Jackson and Pete. Mm-hmm. It didn't have a verse yet, it was just the chorus 25 times over. But anyway. Just give me the warm power of the sun. Give me the steady flow of the waterfall. Give me the spirit of living things as they return to clay. Just give me the restless power of the wind. Give me the comforting love of the fire. But please take all your time and pour some power and pain. Everybody needs some power, I'm told, to shield them from the darkness and the cold. But some may seek a way to take control when it's bought and sold. I know that lives are at stake, yours and mine, and our descendants in time. There's so much to be gained, so much to lose. I'd say that every one of us has to choose. Just give me the warm power of the sun. Give me the steady flow of the waterfall. Give me the spirit of living things as they return to play. Just give me the restless power of the wind. Give me the comforting glow of the wood fire. But please take all your atomic poison power away. Take all your polluting poison power. Take your global warming poison power. Take all your atomic poison power away.
Wow. Yes.
Thank
Oh
you.
man. Oh no, it's powerful. I mean,
We've been doing that song with the tags at the end that were not in the original version, but take all your global warming power, and all your polluting power, because it needs to be sung about now, and that's one time you get to do it. So,
it's such a beautiful song. I've heard from so many people when I started to talk about this, and when Karen and I started to talk about this.
yeah,
So many people talked about not just the beautiful tune of the song, but of the meaning, the global meaning, but the meaning that it meant to them and their families. And descendants
yes,
of time, meaning their children, right?
I think you're right in the sense that, well, for me anyway, in the sense that with so much to gain and so much to lose, every one of us has to choose, and that goes for what kind of government we want to have, not just the people in Ukraine, but what kind of country we want to live in, what kind of world we want to live in. And there are many choices being made, and not just environmentally, that it's not enough to, I'm saying this to myself too, as I sit here in semi-retirement. It's not just enough to grumble and groan or pound on the bar, if that's where you are, or kitchen table, what have you, and say how horrible certain things are. You got to get up and do something about it, and that'd probably be better for your health than just carrying that.
Keeping it in.
What was
Yeah.
it Don Ellie wrote in the end of the Genesis? The heart of the matter. You keep carrying that anger, it'll eat up inside. So I think it's always good to channel those feelings into doing something.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That was a real treat, and it was a real gift. I appreciate it. Yeah. Do you sing that at home?
No, I don't really.
I'm kidding. Even though
When I sing at home, it's usually new songs. I'm writing songs and was performing until a few weeks ago with Orleans.
I saw.
We stopped before the pandemic, like everybody else, and then
Right.
Started up June of last year, and did a bunch of shows through, last year and into March of this year, and then I've taken a leave of absence from the live shows for now, just so I can write and record and try to do things that are less taxing physically on me, as well as
good.
A different outlet for creativity. I want to try to. I mean, blessed to be able to say that I've written a couple songs that people are going to remember for a while. But I'd always like to write more, because the songs live on, after we, the songwriters, are gone.
Yes. This is corny. I just want to know, because when you guys come over for dinner, which you and Andrew are going to do, by the way, do you ever sit around and just play your guitar? And
we've been kind of shy about that. We played together a little bit, yeah, but no.
Wait. You've been shy.
I had too much respect for her and her musicianship, and she for mine and my songwriting. And so, but we're also really busy,
Yeah.
Not, despite my not being on the road at the moment, Andrea, as she likes to be called,
Yep.
Is when she's here, she's doing recording sessions and vocal sessions, singing behind all kinds of people. Did a session last week with 2 Fridays ago. She did a session with Vince Gill for a new record that he's making,
She told me.
and so when she comes home from working, I don't go, "Hey, get your fiddle out and let's play."
No, I didn't mean that. I meant, do you ever just do some
I
instrumental?
know you didn't mean that, but that's kind of what it
Yeah.
feels like.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it's a musical home. But my dad was an electrical engineer and physicist, a PhD in
we
electrical
talked about
engineering.
this. So is my dad. He was a chemical
Right.
engineer. Yeah, I know
And you know,
how we
I
think.
felt like I couldn't compete and wound up going into music. Maybe in part because of that, also just because I loved it. But yeah, we're trying to be to have a life outside of our profession.
Yeah, she's on a big tour too, and you're getting some time finally to heal and rest, and it's great. I mean, I just wondered what it was like at home. So
When she comes up the tour, when she has a little more time, things will maybe get more musically active here in the house. We've talked about things. We did a benefit here in Nashville and played, I think, 2 songs. I'm sorry, no, it was a memorial service. But there's
right.
there are things around town that we do that we have done and we will do together. But we're still working on that. We'll unveil it at the right time.
Okay. So can we back up and talk a little bit about Orleans
Oh yes, sure.
and Kangaroo? I mean, we don't need to talk about that, but the inception of it and the music,
Well,
and who wrote
yeah.
what, or whatever, how that
Oh boy.
creative,
Well, it's a kind of
no,
continuum.
how that creative force rolled. Because Larry was there, and yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, for me, it started out, I was writing songs when I didn't call it songwriting. I just called it making stuff up. And when I was 10 or 12, whatever, I was, on piano, which was my first instrument, or guitar, I would, come up with some chords and make up some words to go with them and a melody. But I got serious about it when I was like 16, 17, 18. Went through a phase where songwriting was coming up with a way to get to the guitar solo. And I was really into playing florid guitar, but busy.
I was just wondering
guitar.
about the group. I mean, I don't mean to cut
Oh,
you
about
off.
Orleans? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Orleans started out when I was playing with Taj Mahal and Karen Dalton. We made the live record with Taj, The Real Thing. It was cut at the Fillmore East and West, and we did a 3-month tour across the country. John Simon, who produced that live album for Taj and played in the band on tour, recommended me to Michael Lang, promoter of the Woodstock Festival, who I'm sorry to say just passed away.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and he was managing Karen Dalton, who's singer, who was a contemporary and friend of Tim Hardin and Bob Dylan, folks like that. Kind of a cross between a jazz and folk singer. Had a little Billie Holiday in her voice. And so I played on Karen's record and went to Europe with her and Denny Sywell, who was the first drummer in Wings, Paul McCartney's group, Paul and Linda's group, I should say, was on that tour and played on that record. But when I came back from there, I was determined not to be a sideman anymore. I'd been playing behind other people a bunch, and Johanna had already written Half Moon, that Janis Joplin recorded, and a couple songs for other people. We'd written Miss Grace, which was a #1 record in England for the Times, and so I just thought, why don't I like get some really good players and have a band where we do our own stuff. And so my first member of that band was Wells Kelly, who played drums as well as bass and piano and all kinds. He could play guitar pretty well actually. And then Larry Hoppin, who Wells knew from Ithaca, New York, who that was the original trio that got started and used the name Orleans 50 years ago in January of 1972. Actually, I was just on a conference call a little while ago with Lance Hoppin and our manager about this 50th anniversary record we're working on that'll be out later this year. So we're getting ready to finish some things that are started already and go in the studio and cut a couple of new songs. But so it started out with a trio, and then after 9 months, we added Lance, Larry Hoppin's younger brother, and then later their still younger brother, Lane Hoppin, joined the band. You can tell the parents liked the letter L, and with my family it was J, Jim, John, and Jerry. And when my mother couldn't remember which kid she was admonishing, she said, Jim, John, Jerry, stop doing that. But so, and I've been singing with the Hoppin brothers for a long time. So the sound is blended together. I've gotten to, learn how to phrase with them really well. And has a little bit of that. There's some famous brother or sibling vocal blends, anything from the Everly Brothers to the Jackson Five to the Staple Singers to more Louvin Brothers. So we started out being kind of a funky jazz band that played around the Northeast and was known for playing really long sets and long jam tunes that drifted from one song to another, one key to another.
A lot of people on the radio liked that because we could take breaks.
Well, radio back then liked it more than it does now.
That's right.
I mean, there are channels on satellite radio or internet radio that will play jam bands and very long pieces, like, just like there are jazz stations that'll play John Coltrane's Love Supreme all the way through. It doesn't bother them. But I know, I listen to it. But we became known nationally and internationally, really, when Let There Be Music hit the charts and got to top 40, and then the next song off that album was Dance With Me. And when that, went top 5, all of a sudden we were known as a pop group to a lot of people who had not heard the funky jam part. And we still recorded, and I was writing, and we were arranging a lot of stuff that was still in the very R&B and reggae influenced side of things. But the harmony vocals over the top of it were what glued the whole thing together.
Oh God. Can you play anything?
I can keep going if you want.
No. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking you need to come back because I want to talk more. I'd like to have a conversation more about that and the Congress. I think that's really important. Can you play anything from Orleans or no?
Yeah, I'll play this song that Johanna and I and our friend Jonelle Mosser, who's a fabulous singer and songwriter from Nashville. Whoops, sorry about that.
Very wonderful.
My iPad slipped off its stand. So this song actually came out of an article that we were reading in the New York Times. So it was a Sunday morning when the big fat original actually newspaper came out with paper.
Right. And we sat
and there was an article about tribalism. And it talked about when the Hutu and Tutsi were fighting in Africa, they identified each other by the shape of their nose. And that's how they knew who to kill. And we just took off from there, and this is the result. Neanderthal while fighting, Cro-Magnon be fighting back too. Protecting the tribe from someone who don't look like he do. Clubs turn to arrows, guns into missiles and planes. Till both sides are gone, wait a million years, start it again. We are all one tribe. We are one tribe. Irish and English, violent, Catholic, Protestant. Ireland won't be the same. Won't be the last, sorry. Sorry, I haven't sung this song in a while. Tutsi kill Tutsi, just for the shape of their nose. Catholic, Protestant, kill for the God that they chose. We are all one tribe. We are all one tribe. Like the garden from the earth we rise, all the same in our Creator's eyes. We are all one tribe. We are one, everyone. We are one. We are one, everyone. We are one. We are one, everyone, everyone. We are one. We are one, everyone. The gangs and the pubs, like the Crips and the Bloods, lashing out. If you don't think like I do, well, I knock the words from your mouth. See the media feeding it, bleeding it just for a buck. You're looking for peace and love. Sorry, but you're out of love. Out of love. You're out of love. You're out of love. We are all one tribe. We are all one tribe. Like the garden from the earth we rise, all the same in our Creator's eyes. We are all one tribe. We are one, everyone. We are one. We are one, everyone. We are one. We are one, everyone, everyone. We are one. We are one, everyone. We are one.
I love that, man.
Thank you.
I love that.
You know, it's on a record that came out
Oh,
about 2005, I think it was.
have you
It wasn't one
performed
of our
that a
biggest.
lot? You should.
Pardon me?
When are you performing that?
When are we?
Yeah.
Well, I'll probably perform that at, next time I get on stage somewhere, now that I've kind of remembered the lyrics. I've written enough songs. We've written enough songs so that
it's a great song.
thank you.
It's a
It's
great.
just, I think it's true,
It is true.
you know, and
Yeah.
it's true that, you know, the media does bleed it, just not you, of course, not this podcast, but the media, you know, tends to bleed, you know, situations and things and antagonisms for the bucks involved, you know, for you wouldn't have the polarized, you know, TV channels, news channels, especially that you have, if
We sure do.
if there wasn't profit to be made in getting people mad at each other.
Mhm.
So
That's sort of a global issue, though, right?
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
It is a global issue, and it's not like this just happened. It's a human problem.
Well, thank you, sweetheart. It's so good to have you today.
Thanks.
And the next time you come back, we'll figure that out. And maybe Andrea will be around and maybe not, but it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. This was really nice. It was great connecting with you again and hearing you. You're so talented in so many levels, and I'm not going to embarrass you, but I really
Well,
thank you.
do you want to talk about politics at all? About my
We don't have
adventures into
time now,
the
but
school board? And
I do. Yeah, I really want you to. If you could, don't laugh. I want you. Yeah. No, seriously, I want to find out more about, if it's okay, about when you were a congressman, what issues, because those are important issues, really important issues. And the school board, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
well,
let's figure it out. We'll figure it out off the air and whenever you can.
okay, yeah, that's another show, I guess. But
Yeah.
what else can I tell you now? Did we run out of time?
We did. And I just want to say two things. Thank you for coming, obviously. It was great.
Thanks, Betsy, for asking me.
Well, it's a pleasure. And you look great. And you are
Oh,
really,
thank you.
it's been a good circle, and I'm really happy for you.
Well, thank you so much.
Know
You look
that.
great too.
I'm fooling you. Thanks.
And I know you've been through your own circle, so
Well,
still going through. We all.
no.
Will the circle
Be
be
unbroken by and by. I don't
Yeah.
know what this is. Okay, so give Andrea a hug and a kiss for me.
I will
And-
do that.
Okay, and yourself. So thanks again, John. Take good care.
Betsy, thank you so much. I'll see you again
Okay, bye-bye.
soon, I hope.